Well, to discuss this further, senior researcher at the Institute for Security Studies, Dr. Johan Burger, is joining us now live from our Pretoria studios. Dr. Burger, good morning. Well, we've had that report that last time when the crime stats were out, besides being inaccurate, according to the reports at the time, they showed an increase in violent crime. What should we expect this time, realistically?
Well, good morning. I think what we just need to understand about the crime statistics last year is that the raw figures were never in dispute. What we did have a problem with is the way in which the ratios were calculated, which we believe may have in certain areas created the wrong impression about the direction our crime is going. So hopefully we will not see a repeat of that kind of miscalculation. Looking at our expectations, I think, we normally prepare for the annual crime statistics by looking at various other institutions who also gather crime statistics and crime information generally, and we try to predict, and this is not a once-off thing as we see with the police's crime stats. This is something that we actually do throughout the year. And all of these indicators are showing that we can probably expect a continuation of the upward trend in most of our violent and serious crimes.
Now, in terms of that, just to clarify, that miscalculation, you said it was on ratios.
Yes, it was on the ratios. You remember, if you work with raw figures, it gives you a particular picture, but it's difficult to compare. If you take murder, for example, and you look at a province such as the Northern Cape, which is a very geographically very huge province, but with a very sparse population, and you take Gauteng, a very small geographically, with a very large population. Now, if you look at raw figures, of course, there are many more murders committed in Gauteng than you'd have in the Northern Cape. But if you took ratios, which allows you then to compare, and ratios is only the number of murders per 100,000 of the population, then suddenly you are you face a much bigger threat of being murdered in the Northern Cape than in Gauteng. So it just allows you to compare places if you work with ratios, which is not possible if you work with the raw figures.
Okay, so your preference is for them not to work with ratios, and then we can get a more realistic picture. You do anticipate from the trends you've seen, as you said, an upward trend on the violent crimes like murder from 2013 to 2014 in terms of your own studies?
Yes, not so much murder, perhaps. The indicators that we work with, unfortunately, does not cover interpersonal violence. It covers mostly property-related crime and property-related violence. Last year, for the first time in many, many years, we saw an increase of about 2.8% in the murder rate. And this is something to be concerned about, given the fact that we've, in the last 20 years, only on 3 occasions, saw an increase in the murder rate. Overall, our murder rate decreased by more than 54% since 1994. So hopefully we will see a further downward trend in our murder rate. What we are concerned about is our serious and violent property-related crime, such as in aggravated robbery. And we're looking at house robberies, business robberies, carjackings, and so on. There we expect to see substantial increases.
And hopefully we won't see substantial increases when it comes to gender-based violence and violence against children that, now and again we have reports of them here in the media.
Yes, absolutely. This is something that we will be looking out for. We know that that is a big issue and a big concern. And last year also we did see some increases. If you use the correct ratios, then we saw increases against where the police indicated decreases. So we will certainly scrutinize that information very keenly this year.
I'm sure we'll be talking to you here on eNCA much later on after the stats have been released. Thank you very much. The senior researcher at the Institute for Security Studies, Dr. Johan Burger, live from our Pretoria studios. It's time now for a quick break here on Morning News Today.